So guys, can you all see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's start. So in this session, like we'll be like discussing about choosing the number of clusters in our clustering algorithms right now. Okay, so I've already like told you how it works, but I'm gonna like give you um little deep explanation on this. Okay, so it's actually like based on the nature of the data and the research requirements. So you should know how many clusters that you should have in your data. So so even though it's going to be a hierarchical clustering, so you can plot the dendrogram, and then you can like decide on the number of k, but still you have to like tell your algorithm, okay, how many clusters that you need even for the hierarchical clustering. So for all the clustering algorithms, you have to really have to use this method. Okay, so there are like too many different types of methods are available to determine the value of k, okay, in all the clustering algorithms. But there are like three methods which are like very much important and widely used throughout the world in the data science community to determine the value of k. So they are like the elbow method, average slope method, gap statistic method. So this gap statistic method is the recent one which is like proposed by Stanford professors recently, just 1 or 2 decades back. So there is a white paper on that and how it works. Maybe I can also like share you the paper so that you can understand in detail on how it works. Okay, so let's get into how elbow methods work. But before that, I really wanted to know whether do you remember how k-means work and what was the cost function there. So we were able to like calculate distance between within clusters, distance between intra clusters, right? So we were calculating the errors, the sum of squares of data points between clusters, right? So that is actually the cost function used here. Okay, so the total distance within clusters, the sum of square. Okay, so you will be like plotting that in the y-axis, and the x-axis you'll be like plotting the number of clusters. So you will be like having a range of clusters from 1 to 10. That's actually the usual range of number of clusters that anyone can have in their data. Okay, so with all the variables, all the different values of k, you will be like running the algorithm and then like calculating the total within sum of squares, and then you'll be like plotting the graph. Okay, so usually like our main goal is to like optimize this value, right? So when you see, when you have one cluster, it was like around 200. When you like increase it to 2, I mean this value drops. Okay, so and it goes on, and over a period of time, whenever the number of k is being increased, the y-axis values just keep on dropping. Okay, but you can't like have 10 clusters just because you have the least number in the y-axis, because like you should not try to minimize it, but you should try to optimize it, right? So here we are like taking k equal to 4. I mean, why it is called elbow method is because, I mean, this graph looks like elbow, right? I mean, this becomes your hand. So here, so you'll be deciding a point where the curve bends. Okay, that is your optimal value. So that elbow point you are like taking as a number of k. So that is why it is called as a elbow method. Okay. Our next method is average slope method. So it is actually a similar kind of method where we will be having a k values varying from 1 to 10, but here you will be like calculate using the average slope values in the y-axis instead of the total within sum of squares as the previous one. Okay, so here the location of the like a maximum point is considered as the right number of cluster. So the formula to calculate the slope coefficient is x minus y divided by max of x comma y. So here x is nothing but the nearest cluster distance. Okay, so here mean distance between to your next closest cluster, but y is the mean cluster distance. Okay, so mean distance to the other instances in the same cluster. Okay, within the same cluster, you're calculating the mean distance. Okay, so here you are in the denominator, you'll be like taking any one value which is the maximum one. Okay, so the variable should be like the value of this allowed coefficient should be like varies from -1 to 1. So if the value is 1, it says that the instances like very close to each other, which means that we have a very good cluster. Okay, but if it is around -1, it says that we have our grouping is completely wrong because the clusters are like not the or not classified right. Okay, so this is how the graph should look like. So here I have the Silhouette score in the y-axis and number of k's in the x-axis. Okay, so I'm like plotting it out. Okay, so it starts with very low Silhouette score in the when x is k equal to 2. For 3, it is like it reached the local minima. I have around 0.47 Silhouette score, but it kind of increased when k is equal to 5. So here we'll be like taking the global minima, which is k equal to 5. So the right number of cluster is 5 here. Okay. So the real difference is here you will be using Silhouette score and taking the maximum value for the right number of clusters, where in the previous method we'll be like taking the total within sum of squares here, and you'll be like taking the optimal number of clusters, not the minimum level, it's actually the optimal number where the curve bends. Okay, next one is a gap statistic method. As I told you before, this is actually like based on the research work of a professor in Stanford University a decade back. Okay, so how it actually works is like when you like you'll be like calculating the same within sum of squares. Remember that is our cost function, right? So here you'll be like plotting within sum of squares and number of digits same way. So this until this it actually works with the okay. So and we'll be like taking where the curve bends. So when according to the first method, the elbow method, you'll be like taking k is equal to 2. Okay. So let's see what happens in gap statistic. Okay, in the gap statistic method, you'll be like creating a uniform distribution. Okay, you'll be like creating a standard uniform distribution, and then you will be calculating a within sum of square for that distribution. Okay, and then you'll be like plotting both the curves by taking the log of this sum of squares. So when you compute this and then you take a log of this and then keep it, and then you create a standard uniform distribution and then calculate the within sum of squares, and then you take a log of that and you plot both here. So here this is our observed distribution values, and this is the expected distribution values. Okay, so you identify the gaps between these two distribution values, and then you calculate the gap. So and you plot that gap in the another graph. So here you have the number of clusters at the x-axis as usual. So here you're doing the applying the algorithm for the observed values as well as for the expected values. Okay, and then you're plotting the sum of squares after taking the logarithmic values, and then you calculate the gaps between these two values, and then you're plotting it here. Okay, so when the gap is maximum, you're taking that value as your number of clusters. So here it's around 2. Okay, so here the formula is nothing but you're taking a logarithmic value of the sum of squares, which is and then you're subtracting it with the logarithmic value of your sum of squares of the usual right distribution. So this actually log of wk is your normal distribution values, your data set, and this is your log values of your what do you call your expected uniform distribution. Okay, so after the first elbow method, you're taking logarithmic and then calculating the deviation between the observed and expected logarithmic values of within sum of squares, and then you're plotting it and then taking the maximum gap. Okay, you got it. So now you know how it works. So I'll be like sharing you the uh, link which explains even more theoretically, okay, which I have already shared to you, and I'll be like sharing the classroom as well. Okay, any questions on this? Okay, so let's move on to the our next topic, hierarchical clustering. This is actually another method of clustering, where you will be like trying to like group your data objects into different clusters, but here you will be like forming a tree of clusters, and instead of a group of clusters as when compared to the partitioning methods. Okay, so there are like two different types, as I've told earlier. So there are like agglomerative, which is otherwise called as bottom up approach, and divisive, which is otherwise called as top down approach. Okay, so in the agglomerative approach, what we do is like you will be like merging all the objects or the groups that are very close to one another, and you will be like forming the only one group at the end when your termination condition ends, or when the algorithm gets complete, you will be having a finally one single cluster at the end. Whereas like in divisive approach, you will be like, sorry, I think in agglomerative clusters, you'll be having only one cluster, and then you'll be like dividing that particular cluster into different groups. Okay, whereas in the divisive approach, you will be like having the different clusters, and then it will be like grouped together, and the end you'll be having a single cluster. Okay, so there's a real problem in this kind of hierarchy clustering, is because once you like kind of split your um, data into different clusters, or when you merge your clusters into a big cluster, you cannot undo this step. Okay, so which because of that, and we cannot like go back to a previous condition and then change your decision. Okay, so actually since it has become like this rigidity has helped us to like reduce the computation cost, but we cannot like correct our decision. This is one of the real disadvantage of this method. Okay, so this diagram will help you to understand what is the real difference between agglomerative and divisive. Okay, so here in the step one, you will be like having only one data point in each of the cluster, and then when first iteration start, the similar data points will be grouped together. Here we are like grouping A and B together in a single cluster. In the step two, we're grouping D and E in the same cluster, and step three, we are like grouping C with D and E, forming a CT, and finally A, B, C, D, all the five data points are grouped together. Well, whereas in the divisive method, what really happens is you will be having only one single cluster at the first, but when you move on, it gets splits up in step three. It gets split with A and AB together and CDE together. The next step, CDE is like split into C and DE. Okay, again D is split into D and E. AB is split into A and B. Okay, so with this just five data objects A, B, C, D, and E, so we are able to um, like give you an example of how agglomerative as well as divisive both works. Okay, so when you like try to get only one cluster at the end, so when you like try to group or merge your clusters, you have to go for agglomerative. When you want to split, you can like go with the divisive clustering. Okay, this is the same explanation. Okay, so dendrogram, this is the real thing that you have to really understand. Okay, so this is actually based on the same split. Okay, so in the level one, what happens? We have like different clusters. In the sorry, in zero level, like all data points will be in the different clusters. So each cluster will have only one data point in the beginning. Okay, and level one, two gets grouped, and level two, C and so D and E get grouped, and after that C gets grouped with D and E. So I mean, in this graphical illustration only, you will be able to see how the hierarchical clustering works in your R or Python program. Okay, so dendrogram is a visual representation of hierarchical clustering of your data. Okay, this is how it works, and here you will be having a similarity scale. Okay, so at this point the similarity is 1, which means each cluster has a similarity of 1 because they have only one data point, right? And then the similarity gets decreases over each levels. Okay, so okay, how a distance is being like measured in hierarchical clustering. So there are like 4 different distance methods available. Okay, so minimum distance between 2 points is being like calculated by p by calculating minimum of p minus p dash. So p minus p dash is nothing but the distance between the two objects, where m is the mean of the cluster and n is the number of objects. Okay, so when you want to calculate the minimum distance between the clusters, so it's nothing but p minus p dash mod. Okay, so for the maximum distance, the maximum of p minus p dash. So here you'll be taking the minimum value of p minus p dash in a cluster, and here you'll be taking the maximum value of p minus p dash. I mean here p and p dash will be 2 points. Okay, here you'll be taking the farthest objects in the cluster, and for the minimum to calculate the minimum distance, you'll be taking the nearest objects in the cluster. Okay, so here anyway, I mean you're just doing a calculating the difference between two objects. Okay, so when you calculate the distance between two objects which are like very near to each other, you call that as a minimum distance. When you calculate distance between the 2 points which are like very far from each other, that is called as the maximum distance. Okay, so when you like want to like calculate the difference of mean distance between two clusters, you have to use mean distance, which is nothing but mi minus mj. So m is nothing but mi is nothing but the mean of cluster for cluster Ci, and mj is nothing but mean of cluster for the cluster Cg. Okay, and to compute the average, what you do is like you calculate the deviation, I mean the distance between all these points, and then take the average of it. I mean you'll be like summing it up and then divide it by ni into nj. Okay, that is our average distance formula. Okay, so when an algorithm uses minimum distance, it is called as a nearest neighbor algorithm. See here, when you use this formula to calculate the minimum, and you calculate the minimum distance in your hierarchical clustering method, that algorithm is called as a nearest neighbor algorithm. Okay, and when you like stop the clustering process after it reaches some threshold, and you call this as a sinking linkage algorithm. I mean, you say like I want the minimum distance in between the points should be like say you say 0.5. I don't want any clusters which are like greater than which is less than 0.5, and you have that as your arbitrary threshold, and you can call that type of algorithm as a single linkage algorithm. Okay, so this is a single linkage algorithm. So you are trying to compute the minimum distance, and when you try to compute the maximum distance, that is called as the complete linkage algorithm, and you will be having a threshold here. And here the nearest clusters should exist, should be always greater than some value. I mean this distance should be always greater than some value. That is your threshold, and you call that as a complete linkage. Okay, and when you like calculate the maximum distance, it's actually called as the farthest neighbor clustering algorithm, and when you have a threshold, it is called as a complete linkage algorithm. Okay, this agglomerative clustering algorithm, which uses minimum distance, is otherwise called as minimal spanning algorithm. So the single linkage algorithm is otherwise called as minimal spanning algorithm. Okay, so we have like 3 different types here. When you calculate the minimum distance, it is called as a uh, it is called as minimal spanning tree algorithm. But when you have a arbitrary threshold, not not to like terminate the algorithm, you call it as a single linkage. And when you compute the maximum distance to find the distance between clusters, it is called as farthest neighbor clustering algorithm. And when you have an arbitrary threshold, it is called as a complete linkage algorithm. And when you like compute the distance between all the data points in the cluster and you take an average of it, it is called as a average linkage. So when you use this average distance to find the distance between clusters, it is called as a average linkage. So average linkage should be the like right method to really define your clusters, okay, because it takes all the data points into the account, not just a minimum distance or a maximum distance. Okay. So here the farthest neighbor algorithms, it tend to minimize the increase in diameter during each of the iteration. Okay. So finally, like if you have a true cluster, they'll be like very compact with each other. I can show you how it looks like. Okay. So before that, so this is the real illustration how it works. For the group average, you'll be like computing a distance between all points and taking an average. For the nearest one, you'll be you'll be computing the distance between the 2 points which are like very near to each other. And for to compute the farthest farthest neighbor, you'll be taking this distance between the two far objects in a cluster. Okay. And here you can like fix the threshold and you can use it in your as a next step in your algorithm as a complete linkage or single linkage. So there are different types of clusters. Ball shaped. So when it's ball shaped, it is like ball shaped and it is like kind of little elongated. It's little elongated, and then here the clusters are very compact and it's not that well separated. Okay. So these are the different types of clusters that one should have. Okay. So there are like, different types of hierarchical clustering that we have discussed, like how it works, how the distance are being like calculated. But there are like a few difficulties that you have to deal with, as I told you before. When the split or a merge happens between the data points, you cannot go back to the previous step. I mean, you cannot undo this step. So what happens, even if it is like wrong, you can't undo it, which might sometimes lead to low quality clusters. Okay, you have to rerun the algorithm. This is one of the disadvantage of the hierarchical clustering. Okay. So I have a small example here to discuss about how it works. So I have the variable 1 and 2, which is kind of the same example that I've used earlier. Okay. So maybe like we can discuss in after a break. Okay. So what's the time now? Okay, maybe you guys can like take a 5-minute break and then